The first thing that happened when I took LSD in 1965, and I began a journey that was to change everything about my life, that it suddenly overwhelmed me with a newness and unfamiliarity that was shocking. And then this voice came in my head and said, "Oh, this again." And I realized that I had done this before, possibly many times. One of the things that has begun to happen to me as I'm getting older, especially as I hit 80, as I'm watching myself, my wife, my friends all succumbing to old age, the exact same voice. "Oh, this again." Nothing about it is unfamiliar. It is shockingly part of who we are. And then, in recent times, with the exploding upheaval of the world around us, the rise in evil, anger, hostility, and particularly anti-Semitism, for me, the same words. "Oh, this again." Nothing about it is new. Nothing. This is cyclical. This is what happens. This is life. It is shockingly demanding. It gets your attention. And I will say that everybody that I know has been attentive in one way or another, even if you don't read the newspapers, even if you don't watch the news, which I suspect now is more and more people. Atmospherically, something is going on that is getting our attention in a big way, and our bodies are going, "Oh, this again." It's part of the human journey. It's part of what it means to be alive, what it means to be manifested in this world, on this planet. This one seems maybe bigger than usual. The collective drama is kind of almost a joke. It's kind of overwhelming. I don't know how many of you look at the New York Times. I bring it into the house for Blanche, and I look at the headlines as I walk in the house. That's it. And they are enough to really set off a lot of global fear and awareness, personal and part of the whole. And it's almost comical that so much can be converging in one time, definitely to get our attention. And I will tell you, as a meditation teacher working in this classroom, my experience today was I have never dealt with more noddedness in everyone I was working with than I have today. There is a kind of something coagulating, something that is kind of disturbing the system. And so the directives that I get, whatever that may mean, were cut through, power through, get back to some substrata of ease or simplicity or quietude or acceptance or whatever it is in every person. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get us back to a place where we feel anything approaching normal. And for those of us past 80, I have to say, normal is not a thing that you experience over a period of time. It's not like you have it for a month or a year, or, like, "Oh yeah, this is how it is." Nothing like that. Every day, possibly every hour or every minute is like, "Really? This? What's this?" And it's really shocking, from individual kind of internal pain to the world just not feeling like it used to feel. Nothing is quite what it was. It's a really strange experience as you get older, that normal is a disappearing word. What is normal? There is no normal. The normal for me, and I'm perhaps speaking for others, is there is no normal. There's just no normal. It's just whatever is. And whatever is shifting its gears in a very dramatic way right now that we have never experienced perhaps in our particular lifetime. But I think it is a norm for the world. It has been a norm throughout history. And we are having to discover the norm of not having a normalcy. The norm of complete upheaval-like transformational energy going on all the time. All the time. And it is leading in one direction to, oh, this again, which is the idea of impermanence, the idea of this comes to an end, the idea that this is temporary, and at some point, either like that or after some real deep discomfort and perhaps amazing suffering, it will be over. Where it goes at that point, well, you all have your narratives, you all have your ideas, you all have your belief systems, everybody does. And that either gives you comfort or it gives you nothing, depending on what your system is. But my experience, and I think the experience of everything that has been going on in my lifetime, is my LSD trip, which was beyond horrifying and chaotic and hellish in the beginning, because I really couldn't accept the dissolution of this Bruce guy. I couldn't accept it. It didn't make sense to me. I'd never had imagined dying or being dismembered, if you will, and that was really the feeling of it. And it took a very, very long time, and I did not do anything but fight it the whole time. But in the end, I lost the battle. I was totally taken apart, and I was put into a state of mind and being that was beyond transcendent of the world we know. It was utter stillness, calm, unexpressible, unknowable, massive truth. And I was there, and it was timeless. It had no definition on any level, because there was no mind to discover it or to think about it. It was just this. As I've described in many of my talks and in my book, what happens is, at some point, I became, or the space that I was in became impregnated. Something entered into it. I broke it in half into fourths and quarters and eighths and sixteenths and multiplied in many, many ways. And reality returned, multiplicity, manifested space returned, and there was this person. And I was like kind of overjoyed and kind of shocked. And I went, why? And then the answer that came when I went, why, which was really interesting, and I know you've all heard this, but the answer was, tell people what you saw. And then I said, well, what did I see? And then they sent me on a journey, literally hitchhiking around the world, looking into Hindu temples and Buddhist temples and everywhere I could look, ashrams, and trying to get a sense of what it was that I had experienced that nothing in my normal life had put together for me. And then I discovered, of course, it was an ancient idea of mystical teaching, that there is these incredible awarenesses that don't percolate through most of our daily life. And I learned a great deal on that trip. And then, of course, I met Rudy, who brought it into a systemic kind of practice that allowed me to enter that space, that allowed me to remember, to experience, to touch that ineffable truth that had awakened me, if you will, on the LSD trip. Throughout my decades of practice with this work, I have been able to deepen that touch, to expand that touch, to reaffirm it, to go, yes, thank you. I have found the doorways into the space that the LSD took me to. And it has been a salvation in this lifetime, because life is hard. And I can keep going in there and going, thank you. This is good. It's like having a cup of tea, a little piece of bread and jam, going, I can do this. It's really a wonderful thing. But As you get older and as you get old, this thing starts happening in a very big way, a very dynamic way. It's not questionable. It's not theoretical. It's not, oh, that, and I'll come back. It's like, this is the real thing. This is really going on. And I am on my journey into, oh, this again. I am really on that journey. And what I have discovered is if ever there was a time to find my way into quietude, simplicity, love, whatever you want to call this, comfort, this is the time. But it's harder to do because all of the distractions, both physical, biological, and now global, are so disorienting. And so the message for me is, and it comes at me all the time, and I say this pretty much week by week, is Rudy's words, do the work. Do the work. And what is the work? You know, again, I tell you this weekly, take a breath, go into the heart chakra, the navel chakra, wherever you can manage to get inside your physiological being, and sit there quietly if you get in there and ask for help. You can say help to surrender, as Rudy said, or help to accept, or help to be present, whatever. There's so many ways of asking for help, but the important thing is you get into this old age strata where the end is starting to really come at you in the oh, this again experience. Boy, oh boy, do you need to make that effort. And it's not casual. And what I'm discovering when I'm sitting with everybody here in the class is you're all struggling. Every one of you is struggling. And I'm going, oof, this is hard. This is hard. Trying to get people out of the knottedness and out of the fear zone, or out of the distraction and out of the, oh me, what am I going to do kind of state, is really difficult. And so what I have been trained to do is find the cosmic chords of music, if you will, da 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 da, whatever it is, with every person, and line up every person so they are in a line with their own chord structure, so they can feel this thing inside themselves that reminds them, oh yeah, do the work. Oh yeah, this is what it feels like. This is what it's like when I take a breath and I ask for help. The idea that you might have to do that all day long is really absurd to many people. You know, it's like, who has time for this? You know, I got too many other things to worry about, too many other things on my plate. I got to do all this and all that, and blah, blah, blah. And then the knottedness comes in, and then trying to go to that space becomes harder and harder. Yes, there are days where you have to do it all day long. And there are times, and I will tell you this from the old age space, there are nights where you have to do it all night long. You have to go in and go, please help me. And you can say, help me to sleep, or help me to surrender, or whatever you're looking for. Surrender is a great word because it's about accepting the unacceptable, really. You know, it's easy to say, help me to accept I hurt my finger, or help me to upset the, I don't like the way that TV show ended, or whatever your thing is that you're struggling with. When you ask for help to surrender, it can be biologically essential to your survival as a being and to your emergence as a spiritual being. And the emergence of a spiritual being, which I have seen every one of you do, every one of you has come to me as a spiritual being, and there has been an incredible resonance with each one of you because that you have touched that space and we have shared that space. But right now, it's getting complicated. It's getting harder. And so the injunction is work harder, work harder. And if you don't work harder, I am feeling this is difficult. I'm trying to find the blockage, the locks, the closed doors, the messages that are kind of misfiring inside your head, and trying to quiet it down and trying to get it to a place of simplicity, and then to find the cosmic chord that opens in every one of you. I usually am pretty good at that. And I don't say that as Bruce. I just say it as It's like, it must be what Beethoven felt when he heard da 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 da. When that note comes through, you got it. And when I'm working with you and the da 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 comes through, there it is. And I don't know how it happened, but I know it did. But what happens when I go da 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 da, and it's a problem, and I keep working to go, and then they show me, they tell me to move this way, do that, do this, all these bizarre directions. But when I do what is told, there is an alignment between me and the other, and the me and other become one. When the da 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 happens with Beethoven, and we're in an auditorium, and it's playing, there's a connection between where Beethoven got that message, the fact that he got it onto a piece of paper, that it got to an orchestra, the orchestra played it, and we're sitting in an auditorium, and we're all going da 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 together. That is the most amazing experience imaginable, and it's one of the reasons we love theater, music, poetry, all of these things, because the inspiration comes through, it gets defined in a particular way, and it gets transmitted. And when we get it, it's like, oh, we've aligned with something ancient, eternal, perhaps, true beyond belief. It just strikes a chord, and that chord is what we live for. There are days in our lives where finding that chord is hard, where you forget to turn on the music, where you forget to know that there's a possibility that something can come in and make your life easier, sweeter, more gentle. But more important than that, because that's not its goal, is to connect you with truth, the eternal, with love, with comfort, with empathy, compassion. It brings all those things to the foreground, and it's not that far inside. It doesn't take knocking down walls to get into this place. I mean, for some people, yes, it does. But for most of us who've been sitting for any length of time, you just go there and go, come in. And that's it. That's it. You go in. Again, we're living in very weird times. And the pull into a world of such theatrical drama is so hard to not look at. We're so trained to the narrative stories of life, and to look at all this stuff, and none of it has a happy ending unless there's a God who comes in, the Deus ex machina I talked about last week, that comes in and fixes it all. Unless that happens, it's a oh, this again ride. We've all been on it. We've all been on it probably many, many times. This is story, so I may be wrong. But as far as I can tell, if there's such a thing as multiple lives and karma and, growing and evolving into a higher being, if there's any truth to that, this is the journey. We are on that journey, and it is not easy. And as you get old, it gets painful, and it gets seriously painful, and you experience horrible things like grief and loss and dissemination of strange thoughts and ideas that overpower you, that you don't know what to do with. And you have to go into this space and ask for help, or you reach out to people, but you don't just sit there in a turmoil and allow yourself to get totally lost in your own negativity. I had a thing the other night that, in the middle of the night, and I've had this before, but this was really potent, that absolutely came in and tried to demolish me as a human being. It said I was a piece of shit, that I've never done anything that's really not selfish. Blanche served me a whole chicken. I haven't had a whole chicken in a long time. And it was actually the first time ever in my life that cutting that chicken felt like immoral. That eating meat felt immoral. I never had that before. I suddenly felt the chicken. And I've had various journeys with meat and eating, and trying to be in a world that ultimately we have to, by using air conditioning and becoming comfortable and everything else, we're actually hurting the world on some level. Well, this night, this dream came in, and it wasn't a dream, it was a voice, and basically said, you are the problem. You're it. And I went, but I practiced with Rudy for 50 years. I've been a meditator. I'm not a bad person. It just went, you're the problem. It was really dark. It was really painful beyond belief. And I'm not even touching the edges of it. It just got so big. And then I woke up, and usually when you wake up in the morning, all that stuff's gone. This stuff didn't go away. Mm. So I had to do the work all day long. And what that means is I had to dialogue with a self looking for truth, looking for the truth. I do this thing, forgive me if it sounds absurd, but when I drive in the car, I just start a dialogue out loud, talking to God. I can do it when I walk as well outside, and I say talking to God, and it, Rudy would call that the guys upstairs, but I talk out loud and I go, look, you've got to give me answers to this, because I am really not sure what is the mind and what is this other thing. And what happens when I talk directly and expressively to this higher force is this thing comes through. And it's usually wordless, but what it is relax, be quiet, it's okay, got your back. And that's all I can tell you. I know we are now looking at a world in which good and evil are clashing in horrible ways. We're also knowing that this has never been other. We are in this space where it's not at our front door at this moment, other than on the news and on the newspaper, but it could come to our front door. That's part of the drama of this moment, the political realm that we're living in, let alone the realm of nature and the horrible things we're doing to the planet. All of this is coming to us. It's coming to us. So you need to be ready to let God or let the guys upstairs have your back and learn how to function in the middle of this unbelievably demanding moment. And you can also do this thing of collect, gather together, hold hands, help each other, share, offer food, offer comfort, offer anything to each other. It's a real thing. You can reach out to other people and say, can you help me, please? I need a friend. I need somebody. And then you can also reach out and be that for other people. This is that moment. We are here, and it's like, oh, this again. This is what it's like when the world is in a kind of upheaval, and it's coming gradually, in some cases rapidly, to your doorstep. Your job, be this person. Find that core, emanate it, share it, excuse me, be the source of comfort, be the source of love, be the source of honesty and whatever else you can bring to the table. And try not to give your mind too much power. Try to look at the mind and then talk to the guys upstairs and go, look, I need help to get beyond my mind, because the mind is not always a friend. And you will find your path moment to moment, bit by bit, to, oh, this again. It's all we're doing here, guys. It's all we're doing. And either we're getting it right or we're getting it wrong. What I'm sensing in everybody right now is there's a lot of people getting it wrong right at this moment. So do the work. Start doing whatever you have to do, because mostly nobody else will do it for you. The fact that you come here to hear this speech being given, which, is, again, it's kind of a dictation. It just comes through. It's for you. It's for you to hear, and then it's for you to do. If you do it, it'll make your life easier, a little bit sweeter, but more than that, it will make you a source of comfort and joy to others. And that's been a real thing I've been pushing strongly in the last series of talks. Be the help you're looking for. Reach out. And again, that too is, oh, this again. It's part of the teaching. Okay. Any thoughts, comments, criticisms? Okay. Okay.
So you said, well, about that book, how is the book coming?
It may be out in the next few weeks. on Amazon. I will send a note to everybody. The memoir, it's called, as I think I've told you all, It's Only a Movie, is I met with the editor yesterday, changed some of the jacket copy on the back. It is, I've never put a book out before, and we're not doing it like, publishing house and going on, talk shows to, to promote it. It's just, I'll send out an email. Those of you who want to get it, it'll be at Amazon, and you can get it from Amazon. Somewhere down the road, probably about 3 months, I may in fact do a audio book version of it. It just means sitting a lot and talking a lot. But the physical book will be out. There's actually two of them. One of them is called It's Only a Movie, which is a story of my life in a way, the memoir, which may be more than you want to know. And be prepared for that. And the other one is called Three Visionary Screenplays. I was talked into publishing 3 of my early screenplays that never got made, that were in many ways preceded the films that did get made, like Ghost and Brainstorm and Jacob's Ladder. And these are very much interestingly potent screenplays that didn't get made for various reasons. But for people who want to read that kind of thing, they will be published as well. So thank you for letting me promote the book. It's been a long, it's been two and a half years of work, so it's not like it's nothing. It's been through a lot of incarnations, but it's an interesting story, not unlike what I was talking about today, but the story of tell people what you saw. This is another incarnation of that. This is a way of telling people what I saw, and it tells the life story that may in fact affect some readers. And if you're one of them, great. And if not, pass it along to somebody else who might get affected. But it's good to tell your story. It's good to see your story. And as my grandson said to me yesterday, he said, it's good to write it before you forget it all. So, and he's right about that. And I'm truly grateful that because forgetting is happening faster and faster. Okay.
On that note, I just wanted to remind you did put a book out before, the Jacob's Ladder script book, which I have. Yes,
no, that's true. When I did the movie Jacob's Ladder, the movie was changed sort of dramatically. A lot of my movies were changed dramatically, but I tried to get permission to put out this original screenplay, which I did, and the book got published. Just so you understand the nature of publishing, they sent me a box of the books, which was very nice of them, wanting me to get them out to people who could promote it. I had no idea who could promote it, and that was the last I ever heard from the publishing company. I have no idea if it ever got sold. I have no idea how many copies got sold. I have no feedback from that. So putting it out on my own on Amazon I have 2 editors, and one of them has a publishing company, so it's his label. But we're just putting it out, and I don't need feedback really. But if you find it meaningful, great. Also, it's almost Christmas. It's a good Christmas gift, as I was told. One of the reasons to put it out now. So there's a rush. But in about 2 weeks, we'll be announcing it. Then, Perry.
Hi.
Hi.
Last week I wasn't here. I was online, and I became very interested in your hands and what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel that sometimes, I think while I was watching you, I was retaining your hand.
I saw you do that.
And now I feel more like when you reach to me, I want to reach back. I don't want to sit this way.
I'm going to encourage you to just sit still and take it in and let it do what it wants to do. The idea that you want to do the movement is indicative of the fact that you are a born helper, that you're a conduit. I know you work with a lot of people, and I know that you help a lot of people. This is just a particular kind of energy movement. And at some point, I do believe if you want to play with mudra work, which is what this is called, you will have an instinct for that. And it will just start to come up. And you can even just do it sitting alone at home. You'll just watch what happens when you feel. The trick is, and it's really interesting, when you put your fingers together, there's a feeling. The power, though, is when you separate them and the feeling is even bigger. I have never understood that, but that's when you touch the ineffable. touching is one thing, and we need to touch. Human beings are all about touch. But when you untouch and feel that it's still there, it's potent beyond belief, and it totally affects the inner psyche. And you start to feel things you have never felt before. It's the feeling that isn't in touch. It's the feeling that precedes and follows the experience of touch. It's beautiful. And you will have a real gift at that. It's mostly, well, most people, when you sit and meditate, you will sit with your hands on your knees, thighs, your forefinger and thumb on both fingers, on both hands together. That holds energy inside the body. And Rudy that's what he taught me to do, which I did. And then slowly I discovered as I opened my fingers and hands, the energy didn't go away. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. And the fact that it is, that you can actually use it and you can actually send energy to people, that was a gift. It's come over time. I'm learning more and more about it. I was never taught it. It's just happening, but it has to do with what I described as the Beethoven chords. Da, 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 da. It absolutely goes that. Da, 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 and you know it. And when it does that, you're done with whoever you're working with. When the chord is struck, done, go on, move to the next person. And if the chord doesn't get struck, and you have to move on because sometimes that happens. There are people with, you're just not going to, it's not, doesn't, usually it gets struck. But in today's class, because of the complexities that I was dealing with, it was a lot harder. People are in a much tighter space. Striking that chord is hard. And that's why everybody has to do the work themselves, because if they don't do it, they don't make it possible really for the energy to get in. If you're completely blocked in, it doesn't want to spend an hour drilling. It just doesn't want to do that. It's going, oh, well, go do your work. So, that's true for everyone here. Go do your work. We're all responsible.
So at a point when you were looking at me, I believe you stretch your hands like this. And
Yeah.
I thought you didn't do this.
It's a different thing for every person.
Yeah.
It's working different parts of the chakras, different parts of the energies being, and everybody's rather complex, and there's certain areas that are needy at a certain moment. What you may have discovered today, I certainly did, is there's a lot of this movement, and that is because most everybody is suddenly in their heads. People are dramatically in their heads, and that's not a good place to live your life. It causes a lot of grief. So this is trying to move down through that energy field, and where possible, penetrate back down into the chakras, the deeper chakras, and get the energy stabilized in the body again, so you become a whole person and not just a mind. The mind problem is a real big deal right now, and a lot of people are lost in that, and I see it everywhere, out in the street, wherever I go. I just see people lost in their minds, and it's not a whole person that is walking in the world, which is almost always the case. But this is like, well, way out of balance. So it's hard. Enough. Okay. Thank you for hanging in there, guys. I know this is so much stuff, but this is an interesting time, and I'm telling you, you have mechanisms, you have tools, you have ways of dealing with all of this that can make you whole and make you comfortable, if that's you're looking for that, or at least make you deeply aware and responsible for the wholeness of the world around you. And you can be the caretaker of everyone who's in front of you and the people who you don't even know. You can just send love into the void. It really helps. Thank you.